How do, and welcome back. Well, it's Brew Day, and if you remember, a few videos ago I mentioned a company called brewathome.shop, and they contacted me and said, can we send you a kit, and you can brew it and do a taste test. And I said, of course you can, thank you very, very much. And true to their word, they have done, and today I'm going to brew it and I'm going to show you what they sent. But before I do, down below I've put two links. One to their website, which is, I've got it open now, it's a really good website, very professional, and also to a video that they've got on YouTube, which is basically showing you their warehouse. So they're in Barnsley in Yorkshire, and they have a warehouse here. They've got actually two companies. They also have a company that distributes catering equipment, and it shares the same warehouse, but they've got all their own home brewing supplies in there. And at the front of the warehouse they have a little shop where you can go and buy things, a home brew shop. So I thought that was really interesting, but it gets even more interesting, because right next door to their warehouse they actually have and run a microbrewery. These guys are actually brewers. And that's pretty unique, I think. Usually a homebrew retailer is just a retailer, but these guys actually brew. They've got their own microbrewery there. They've got a tap room, bar, and there's tables and chairs. There's tables and chairs outside, so you can go to the brewery, you can taste their beers. I thought that's really unique. But it gets more interesting, because next door to the microbrewery they own a little micro distillery. They make their own gins and their own vodkas. So these guys know what they're doing. And if as a home brewer that you've got any questions about brewing, I'm sure they can answer, because they actually do it. They're home brewers, they're also professional microbrewers, and they're distillers. And on their website they do have a section for distilling at home. I've just got it open now. I'm not really a distiller, I'm not a shorts lover. When I was younger I had a lot of problems with shorts. I got myself ill and all sorts of things. And I'm just not a lover of them. I don't mind a Spanish brandy, but that's about it these days. But yeah, they've got lots of stuff, like home distilling starter kits, like I don't know what these things are, spirits, air still essentials kit. And they've actually got something that I've seen in Pierre's brew shed. Pierre from Simple Homebrew. It's like a dome, a copper dome. It's called a alembic dome pot condenser, and it's exactly the same one I've seen Pierre use. So yeah, there's home brewing stuff there. There's wine, there's beers, and there's spirits on their website. So I'm going to leave links down below, and you can go to the website, have a look. Definitely watch the video, it's very interesting. But what kit did they send me? Well, they sent me the Muntons Tap Room Peach to Their Own, which is a peach flavoured IPA, sweet and juicy, punchy, makes 31 pints, and it should be about 5.7% alcohol. So I've never tried the Tap Room. I've tried Connoisseur, and that there's not many more bottles left of that Yorkshire bitter. I'm really enjoying that, and I do enjoy all of their handcrafted range. I've tried them all and I think they're excellent, but I've never tried any of the Tap Room, so I'm going to enjoy this. So that's the kit. It's a peach flavoured IPA, and with this obviously you get the yeast, and I'm going to be using their yeast, so when I taste it I'm actually tasting what they intended. So I'm going to be using their yeast. Obviously it comes with some instructions, very nice instructions from Muntons, very clear, nice illustrations. If you're brand new to homebrewing, even a one can kit can seem daunting right at the beginning, This breaks it down into very easy steps, all nicely illustrated. So they've done a good job with the instructions. And it comes with 30 grams of Amarillo for dry hopping. It says you dry hop on day 5 and you leave them for 5 days. So that's a nice quantity. Usually you only get about 10 grams with a lot of these 1-can kits, but Muntons have gone the extra mile and included 30 grams of Amarillo. And of course, because it's a 1-can kit, we're going to need some extra fermentables, and Brew at Home kindly sent a kilogram of Muntons light spray malt. So I'll be using them as the extra fermentables. So that's it, that's the kit. I'm going to go and have my dinner now though, because it's coming up for 12 o'clock. Oh, it is 12 o'clock now, so I'm going to go in first and have my dinner. I might just do a Brewdog review after for the Advent Calendar series, and then I'm going to get set up, sanitize everything, and then I'll come back, put the camera on, and we'll put all this together. So I'll see you very soon. But please go and check out the links. Really interesting company. Well, we're back in the brew corner. I've got my kit here, the beer kit, and it's in some hot water. It's been in there for about 10 minutes now, so that will soften up all that syrupy goodness. And I've sanitized everything with Star San. I'm ready to go. So I've got my fermenter. Now, if you're new to home brewing, if you've never brewed before, but you've just been watching some of my Brewdog Advent Calendar beer tastings, and you thought, you know, you'd like to try a bit of home brew yourself, it's really easy when you use these pre-made beer kits. Basically, you need very little equipment. You don't need to bother with, you know, kettles like this and urns like I use. You literally just need a bucket, basically, and you can get these from every homebrew shop. It doesn't matter, they cost, I don't know, it's been a long while since I bought one, because they just last years and years if you look after them, clean them regularly. They will last years. I've brewed a countless number of beers in this bucket, fermenter bin. They used to cost about a tenner. They'll have gone up now, maybe about 15 quid. Just to start off with, this is all you need, and you'll need a long handled spoon, plastic, don't use metal. I know I have got a metal spoon, but I use it in my metal kettle. If you use a metal spoon in a plastic fermenter, you're going to scratch it, and bacteria can sit in those scratches and it will contaminate your beers. So don't use a metal spoon inside these plastic fermenters. Just use plastic with a nice long handle. Again, you can pick them up for a few quid in any beer homebrew shop. And you will need an airlock, which I'll show you later, because I think did I put it in here? No, I'll have to show you that later, because I seem to have misplaced mine. But yeah, I mean, for 20-25 quid you've got yourself set up, and you're going to be making fantastic beers for a fraction of the price of commercial beer or in a pub, you know. So you've just got to make sure though that everything is sanitized. And so even though I have sanitized everything, I always give things a nice spray down again, just to make sure it's all clean. Give it a mist. Everything has to be really clean. So I use this Star San, which is a food grade sanitizer, so you don't need to rinse anything. And what's also great about Star San is it lasts forever. So even though this can be quite expensive, I think it's about 15-20 quid. Again, it's been a while since I've bought one, because this stuff just lasts forever. That will last me probably best part of a year, because you want to use a little bit using these measuring boxes at the top. You only need a little bit for 5 litres. You dilute it with water and I use a big plastic water bottle, 5 litres, and I just make up a 5 litre batch at a time. I put 1 litre into the mister, and I just use the rest in for the big items like the fermenter. So everything has to be spotlessly clean, including your area, including all the other bits and pieces. And really that is all you need to get started with. You know, a very small outlay, 25 quid. If you're going down the Star San route, stick on a bit more, but it will last you, these buckets will last you years and years. So it's good value for money. The only other things you'll need, which you probably already have, what you will have, is a tin opener, because your beer kit comes in a tin. Some now come in pouches, but this one's in a tin, so I need a tin opener. And I'll need some scissors, because of course I've got extra fermentables in bags and I have to cut them open. Misting again with Star San just to keep everything clean. All my bench here has been washed down with Star San. Everything's as clean as I possibly can get it. So right, let's open up this tin, and I'm going to pour it into here. Actually, first, before I do that, I'm going to pour in a little bit of boiling water. This has just been boiled. I don't like putting the syrup straight into the dry bucket. I don't know why. Some do, I don't. I like to have a bit of water in there, and I'll save some of this, and I'll show you why. So let's get this open. So yeah, you can save a lot of money by just brewing these 1-can kits, and the quality of these kits today, the technology that's being used to make them, the commercial quality, absolutely, and yet they'll work out at something like 50p a 500ml bottle. Oh, another thing, don't use wooden spoons. If you've got a long handled wooden spoon in your kitchen, leave it in your kitchen. Don't use wood, because wood is porous and bacteria can actually sit in the pores and contaminate your beer. In fact, that's how in medieval days and the Viking days and Anglo-Saxon days, they would transfer yeast from one batch to another. They didn't know they were doing it, but they would use wooden stirring sticks, and they would use the same stick to stir beer with, and of course it was just cross-contaminating every batch with yeast, because the yeast was living in the pores of the wood. They used to think they were magical. They didn't understand, you see, so they thought they were magical. And I often wonder if that's where the magic wand comes from for wizards and things, from the brew sticks that they used to use. Anyway, let's get back to this. So the lid's off. I'm going to have a bit of a taste. That's peachy. That really is, and there's a nice bitterness to it as well. After a while, once we've made a few beers, just tasting the lid like that will give you a good indication of what the beer is going to be tasting like. Not straight away, it's going to take you a few beers just to get a few brews just to get the experience, but that tastes really nice. Okay, let's pour in this liquid, well, syrup, and I help it out with a spoon. Some say you shouldn't, but I do. Look at that thickness. Just try and get as much as you can out, and then what I'm going to do is use that boiling water to rinse out the can and get the rest out. Doesn't matter if you make a mess, because you're going to be filling the fermenter up with water anyway, so doesn't matter if it gets on your spoon and everywhere. There we go. So I'm going to rinse this out, put the rest of the water in. Just shy of the top, but not to worry. And this makes sure that we get all of that malty goodness that's in the tin in your bucket, because this is where you want it. Give that a good stir, get around the sides. As it hasn't gone all the way up, I'm just going to try and just scrape this top bit. Try and get as much as you can out. Now I forgot to bring with me a dishcloth, so I'm going to have to be quick here because that tin's going to be hot. Give that a stir as well, get it all dissolved. Okay, here we go. There we go, and it's clean. Look at that, I don't know if you can see inside. Absolutely spotless. So we know all that malty goodness is now in the fermenter. And what I'm going to do, because I've got to go indoors now and just fill up that kettle, I'm going to fill the kettle up again and get it boiling, because I need to put some more boiling hot water into the fermenter. So I'm going to stir this and then I'll get back to you. That's about 1 litre of boiling water just to top it up. I've been stirring this quite a long time now whilst the water's been boiling. So it's all nicely dissolved, all of that syrup, it's all nicely dissolved. And so what I'm going to do is add the extra fermentables, because this is only a 1 can kit. You need to add more malt, more sugars to get that ABV up. If some kits are 2 cans, and if your first kit that you brew is a 2 can kit, you don't need to bother with the extra fermentables. That's what the second can is for. So you can just pour both cans in and be done. So I've sprayed these with Star San. I'm just going to open the bags and just drop it in. Now, because this is steaming, because it's boiling water, I'm going to try and do this all in one go. Otherwise it just clumps up and clogs up. There we go. And then I'm just going to keep stirring because it's going to clog up and form these little balls because of the hot water. This is just malt, just dry malt, and it all clumps together when it's in boiling hot water. You don't have to be pedantic. It's okay if this little ball bearing size, marble size little clumps, but you don't want any big rocks, and I haven't got any, so that's good. Do the second bag, and that'll make the 1 litre of extra fermentables. And in the instructions it does recommend the light dry malt extract, which is always the best option, but you can use other things. You can use what's called a brew enhancer, which is 500 grams of this plus 500 grams of brewing sugar, or you can just go with 1 kilogram of brewing sugar. Just try and get it all in as quick as I can so it doesn't clump up in the bag. And again, just give it a good shake. Well, not a shake, a stir. Vigorous stir. This will help to break up those clumps, but also it will add some air into the wort. So this is a wort now. It'll add some air into the wort, and although yeast is anaerobic, means it doesn't like oxygen, when it starts off fermenting it wants some oxygen to build a colony. So by stirring it vigorously like this, you get the best of both worlds. You break up the clumps and you add oxygen to the wort. I'll tell you what as well, I found whilst I was waiting for the kettle to boil, the airlock. This is the type that I use. These are dirt cheap. I mean really dirt cheap, just a few quid. I usually buy them like 5 at a time or 6 at a time. And you just fill it with a bit of Star San, and it stops bacteria and yeasts that's in the air, the atmosphere, from getting inside your brew and contaminating it. Right, The rest of this I'm going to be doing indoors. My wife doesn't like filming indoors, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'll put the lid on first, just to keep it safe. I'm going to top this up to 17.5 litres, which is what it says in the instructions, with cold water. And that'll drop the temperature down to, I'm hoping, about 20 degrees, the low 20s, maybe 22. And that's a good temperature to then pitch your yeast. So yeast, you can't pitch too high, it'll kill it. It'll stress the yeast and it will produce off flavours. If it does ferment, it will produce off flavours in the beer. So 20 to 22 degrees, I would say maximum. And then basically I'll just cut the top off this sachet and evenly sprinkle it over the wort. And then put the lid on, put the airlock in, which will be filled with some Star San, and then I'll just let it brew for 5 days. After that, open the hops. I'll keep these in the fridge until then to keep them fresh. Open the hops, pour the hops in. I might use a little muslin hop sock, or you can just throw them straight in. And then I'll give that another 5 days, and then I'll bottle. And that's it, basically. That's your brew day, or your beer done. You can bottle it, leave it for about a week or two indoors in a nice warm place with about 3/4 of a teaspoon of sugar in each bottle. Although in their instructions they recommend using spray malt, and I've got some more of this. So they say use 3/4 of a teaspoon of spray malt per 500ml bottle. And once it's carbonated, I can bring them out here where it's really nice and chilly, about 0 currently. Lots of snow all on the ground. It looks lovely, but it's horrible stuff. So I'll bring them out here for a few days and help them condition and clear, and then we can do a taste test. So that should be in about 20 days time. And as today is the 11th of December, it will be New Year's Eve. So it'll be a nice beer to bring in the new year with, just in time. Great. Okay, so that's it. Like I say, sorry I can't show you right to the end because, well, for 2 reasons. This is going to be heavy when it's filled with water. And outside between the garage and my house, there's a lot of snow and ice, and you just know what's going to happen, don't you? When you lift this up, trying to walk through the ice, yeah, you know what's going to happen. So it's probably safer I just do the rest indoors. So as I say, I'm going to top it up with water to 17.5 litres. When it's at about 20-22 degrees, I will pitch the yeast. It will probably sit and ferment at around 18 to 20 degrees for 5 days. Add the hops, let it sit for 5 days, bottle, and then in about 10 days we can do a taste test. So New Year's Eve is going to be a good one, I think. Well, I hope you found that interesting. Like I say, if you're a new brewer, it's really cheap to get into the hobby. The only thing I haven't shown you is a hydrometer, which will allow you to calculate your ABV, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube that show you how to do that. But yeah, for maybe 25 quid you can get yourself set up and you can be brewing some really nice beers. You can actually buy kits from a lot of beer shops as well, homebrew shops, sorry, and they cost about 50 or 60 pounds, but it comes with everything you need, including a beer kit of choice. Often you can get to choose which beer kit you want as well, and they come in at about 50 or 60 quid. The thing is, what you've bought will last you years if you look after it and keep it clean. So it's money well spent. It's a good investment. Very cheap to get into the hobby. You don't have to spend hundreds of pounds on kettles and gadgets and things like this. Just for many months, in fact for the first probably 2 years that I've been brewing, I just had one bucket. I basically had this one bucket, long handled plastic spoon, airlock and a hydrometer, and that was it. And I brewed a lot of beers. So yeah, if you've never thought about home brewing, it's really easy. It's as easy as that. It takes about 20 minutes to put together, and you're done. Right, so thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure, and as always, I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye for now.